song we sang helps us, doesn't it? The song before that, Victory in Jesus. You can't get down. You can't become discouraged. Thinking about what we have in the future. Paul understood. He counted all things as rubbish, willing to give all that up, make those sacrifices of prestige. Did he have it as an elder and apostle of the church, respected? So many congregations established. But we'll talk about Paul in a minute. My lesson tonight is on helping our times of loneliness. You ever feel lonely? Even in a crowd? Yeah, me too. How many individuals we've known who for 50, 60 years loved a mate, and that mate died. And the darkness and the loneliness overwhelms that person. But there's hope. There's help. Family of God, just as Charlie was talking about, what we have together, the fellowship. There was a cartoon, remember Ziggy? Picture this small, pudgy man sitting alone in a boat, drifting along toward a tunnel. Do you know what the title of that tunnel was? Tunnel of Meaningful Relationships. That's all we want sometimes. I think loneliness is a growing problem in our society because we might be sitting next to somebody, but we're on this, talking to somebody else, not face to face. Have you seen families at a restaurant? They're not talking and relating. Until the food gets there, they're looking at that telephone. I used to talk about the TV like we do now, talk about social media and so forth. A study by the American Council of Life Insurance reported that the most lonely group in America are college students. Can you imagine going where there's hundreds of students after education, after a mate, being lonely? Next on that list are divorced people, welfare recipients, single mothers, rural students, housewives, and the elderly. One preacher, to point out how lonely people can be, mentioned that he saw in a Kansas newspaper this advertisement. For $5, I'll listen to you for 30 minutes. Seems kind of outlandish, doesn't it? Who would want to call someone, a stranger, just to talk to? Well, do you know, he was getting 10, 20 calls a day because the pain of loneliness was so sharp that they were willing to try, even for a half hour, to have that little bit of companionship. And even if it didn't mean anything to the listener, they felt good by talking to someone. Is there a difference between loneliness and solitude? Both of them, you're by yourself, maybe. Richard Vaughn was one of the elders at Kerberville. He said when he was teaching in school, come winter break, He always enjoyed going out to the hunting lodge and sitting up in a stand and waiting to shoot a deer. Later on, when he retired, he didn't find that need any longer because he was around people and had time for that solitude. Anything that we have as a problem can be helped. You know, loneliness and solitude may refer to the same situation, but which one is determined by us? It's our attitude, it's our frame of mind, it's what we should think about. I'm told that in prison life, sometimes when a prisoner, a lifetimer, does something he shouldn't do, he's put into isolation. No contact, completely by himself. And they virtually lose contact with the outside world. One inmate commented that the most difficult part of such isolation was not being able to see anybody face to face, to communicate, to touch, to hug, to feel loved, to feel human. The implication of the inmate's words is that of loneliness. And certainly that's not the way it was meant to be, because Genesis chapter 2 verse 18, it says, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." God noticed Adam's loneliness. God was saying that the man needed another person with whom he could fully be human with. And although the immediate setting is companionship, in a larger context, God's telling us that being fully human means enjoying relationships, developing relationships. What did Solomon say? He that would have friends must show himself friendly. There was a man at Pottsboro several years ago, Lee Horn. Got acquainted with him, went and visited him, and he started coming to church. He was a newcomer. He liked the attention. Everybody was going up and shaking his hand and welcoming him. Well, after he placed membership, the newness wore off. And he was heard to complain. He said, "No one's coming up to me anymore and greeting me." You know how I responded to that? You have just as much responsibility to go around and greet people as you expect them to do for you. Go talk to someone. You'll feel better about it. No matter the cause of our loneliness, sometimes it's sin. Sometimes it's loss. Sometimes it's our own shame and guilt because we haven't done the right thing. It might be sickness. It might be depression. When a person is depressed, the very thing they need is someone to talk with. They say, "I am not in the mood to talk. I don't want to talk." We pride ourselves in keeping track of events, important issues around the world, what's happening in our community. However, a more important priority is people around us. Whether it's relatives, friends, co-workers, a stranger on the street, it all begins with personal contact. How much do you extend yourself to notice that lonely person or this person that has found himself in a predicament? Do we have a heart of compassion? Do we have the idea, I can help him, I can help her? The Lord's church is not growing as it should simply because there is very little one-on-one contact. Whereas yesteryear, a lot of evangelism. And I want us to keep trying. There are people who need us. If we observe and we make that first contact. Hey, what's on your mind today? Hey, sit down over here. I'm by myself. Don't sit over there by yourself. Or may I join you? My name's Gregg Knight, and I'm here, and I don't like to eat alone. I've done that before. It all boils down to priorities, doesn't it? If we give our career, our personal possessions, or entertainment a higher priority than telling others about your love for them or the possibility of reaching them, that contact will never take place. Communication won't happen. Words of God won't enter into that person's mind and heart. It's up to us. Let's don't feel like there's the pressure. Yes, it's a command. But if you relax and just let it happen in many ways, you'll find doors opening. What can we do about loneliness? Colossians chapter 3, verse 3 through 4 says, "For you died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is in our life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory." It talks about the now, and it talks about later. We don't know when the judgment's coming. We don't know when we'll meet our end and wait and rest for his coming. But I love that. When he does, we will be with him. Isn't that something to get a hold of you and give you confidence and a sense of being instead of being lonely? There's several individuals in the Bible we can talk about. That scripture from Deuteronomy talking about Joshua and Moses. Imagine being second to Moses, following his steps, following his commands, his leadership. It almost seemed like Moses never made any mistakes, but of course he did. And one of them kept him out of the land of promise. But after Moses is dead and gone, there in Deuteronomy, Moses is saying goodbye, and he says, "I've lived this 120 years, and I can't come in and go like I used to. And God's not going to allow me to go in to the land of promise." And he went off and died. He placed in Joshua's hands the leadership of that great nation of Israel. What a challenge. I wonder if it went through Joshua's mind, I can't meet this condition. I can't shine like Moses did. Did he ever get lonely? Sometimes leaders get frustrated because the people won't follow. It happened both to Moses and Joshua. How about King David? Psalms 38, he says these words, "My friends and companions stand aloof from my plague, and my nearest kin stands far off." He's alone. Did he bring it on himself? Maybe. But it happens. How about going to the New Testament? You know what Paul said in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 16? "No one stood with me the first time I defended myself. All deserted me, but the Lord stayed with me and gave me strength." One time at a place he was discouraged, all alone, and all of a sudden here comes Timothy. You see his whole being just lifted up. He was encouraged. Someone cared enough to bring him his books, his parchments, and his coat. Oh, that Timothy came at the right time, at the right place. But he also depended on the Lord. How about Jesus? What did he say? Behold, this is the very last verse of Matthew, chapter 28, verse 20. Behold, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. What must that have meant to his disciples? And yet, after his crucifixion, they went up to the upper room and they were scared. They felt like the world was against them. The pressure, the weight bore upon them until here comes Jesus. He appears to them, walks through the wall, gives them courage. Yes, I like what we sang about victory in Jesus. Inspired Paul told the brethren at Rome that we are more than conquerors. Romans 8:37. That we will always be led in triumph in the Lord. 2 Corinthians 2:14. You see, as a Christian, this means that although we have to go through troubles and trials in this life, all of these fade into obscurity as we think of the prospects of heaven and the joy that we have right at this moment, each day. Paul wrote, "For you died, your life is hid with Christ," as I said a while ago, and our life appears, and he will appear in glory. As loyal followers of Christ, we must be willing to live for Jesus through these times of tribulation and these times of loneliness. How do you do it? Keep listening. What do I mean? Sometimes there's a voice that whispers, "You're all alone. No one cares. No one's in your circle. No one's interested in me. No one's coming to my side or to my aid." You know, once that voice is heard, that negativity, it destroys. It grants you attention only as it gets louder and more often, convincing you that the world is against you. You have a problem? You ever have a problem that starts out small and you fret about it, you worry about it, and you put off doing something about it, and all of a sudden, instead of a little hill, it's a mountain? Yeah, things grow, don't they? But this time, filter out all those whispers of negativity and allow all the other voices be heard. Don't listen to that. Listen again to the shouts of sacrificial love from the Word of God, like hundreds of voices and unison trying to remind us nothing can separate you from the love of God. Nothing. Romans 8:38-39. Listen, the apostles who tell about the words of Jesus, "I will come again for you." Listen to the pages of memories in your filing cabinet of your mind of all the laughter, and listen to all the things you learned from your companions, your friends. Listen to the sweet words of someone who whispered, "I love you," in your ear, from your family, from your mate. Listen to the kind relationships that have come along, even in a strong congregation of the Lord's church, the family. Listen to your mother and father's voice, even though they may be gone, or a brother or sister, even if they're far away, they're still speaking. Listen. I care. I love you. It's been proven that one evil whisper can silence the sounds of God's love if you allow it to cover your ears. His creation roars with love for you. One evil lie can enter our hearts and dictate our life. Yet there's a chorus, million voices, past, present, future, singing in unison, begging for us to understand we have value and worth to God. There's a creation of voices given you if you just allow your mind, remind yourself, shut down that negativity and listen. Those who are with us are more than those who are against us. 2 Kings 6:16. And those final words, I will never leave you, nor will I forsake you. Lonely? I don't have time. I have someone to help. I can serve. I can be there for somebody else. How many times have you heard preachers say, I went to visit the hospital, I went to visit someone at home, and I went to encourage them. But guess what? I think I came away more encouraged than I did encourage them. It's a two-way street, though. When you are lonely, call me. I'll listen. No matter day or night. And that's been tested several times. And I pray that I'll be ready for you. And who wouldn't be that way, even in this congregation? If you need something, ask me. Talk to me. Let's be each other. Confidant, listener, full of love and understanding. Don't be lonely. God is on your side. He sent Jesus. Yes, He's given us the victory. If you have any reason to come now while we stand and sing.